Hi, welcome to the office.
Thanks, Dr. Affleck. My name's Steve.
Steve, nice to meet you. I
Nice to meet
appreciate you coming in, and I'm looking forward to talking with you.
All right, thanks.
Let's head on into the office.
Thank you.
Well, I'm really excited to have this conversation.
Well, good. Well, I'm feeling kind of desperate to have it, actually.
Okay.
I've been concerned about my dad for a little while now, so.
Well, let's get into that. Tell me more about that. I'm glad that you're here seeking out options. What's kind of led you to do this?
My dad he's 75, but he shows a lot more age than that.
Meaning like he seems older.
Yeah, he does. And well, for one thing, he has a denture. He doesn't wear it.
At all?
Hardly ever. I mean,
Okay.
even avoiding wearing it at meals. Never consistently. He abandoned a consistent use of that really early on.
Did he ever say why? Do you know why?
He never said why. I just know my dad. He just has a kind of a low level of tolerance for. He's irritable that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know. I know that not everyone's like that, but for him, he just didn't tolerate it.
Gotcha.
Didn't tolerate the feel. Didn't like it.
That's not too unusual.
Okay.
People usually do okay with top dentures,
Yeah.
but even a really well-made lower denture, when we do studies on these people, about 50% of them are unhappy. And you say, well, let me fix the denture. There's nothing to fix. It's made as good as it can be made, and they still won't really tolerate it.
Yeah.
It's a real struggle. So he's not alone. I'm curious, what are his thoughts? Does he share them with you, or you just notice he's withdrawing?
I've noticed that. Well, here's one really noticeable thing: is that when he's not wearing them, you can tell he's not wearing them because of his speech. It suddenly becomes kind of a whisper, and it's not just the sounds that he makes when he speaks or can't make when he speaks, and while not wearing it, it's the sound of his voice is not there. It lacks volume. It lacks tone. Conversely, I can tell when he's wearing his top denture on the phone.
Okay.
Because he speaks more confidently. And I'm just wondering, is that kind of a thing? I mean, does that make sense? Is it possible that just having your teeth in or out can affect the confidence at which you interact with people?
Yes, of course. I mean, teeth are a huge part of speech. You and I don't really think about where our teeth are when we talk, but when we talk, our teeth are helping coordinate sound. So for patients who aren't wearing dentures or they don't have teeth, they really don't have a way to articulate certain sounds. So they compensate trying to use their tongue, but it's never really the same. And for a lot of patients who can't wear dentures, this becomes a permanent problem where they don't want to wear their dentures, and so you can't hear them, and then they're trying to compensate for how they speak, and then when they wear their dentures, they don't sound great either.
Yeah.
So they kind of live in this place where they're never really happy or comfortable.
Right.
It sounds like that's what your dad's...
Yeah, well, I can understand and hear my dad better when he wears his denture, but I know he must likewise struggle speaking with it in, you
Right.
know. But the thing is I don't think it's just about my dad's voice and the lack of wearing his dentures. There's something more to it than that, and I'm not sure if it's true, but I attribute a really steep decline in my dad's general health that seems to have started when his oral health started to fail.
Meaning you've seen him kind of decline faster than you
Yeah.
think he should have.
Yeah, I mean, if I can't prove that it's the cause, that the correlation's really compelling.
Okay.
Because when his teeth started failing, he just had them removed. And he wasn't really able to keep up with the demands of maintaining
Right.
even the natural teeth that were still in his mouth. And then he gets a denture, which he didn't wear.
Gotcha.
And so suddenly he's just not chewing anymore. As soon as he couldn't chew well, I noticed that his diet looked like it was really uninteresting. Meals looked
Yeah.
uninteresting. His calories were going down. His energy was going down. He started atrophying everywhere. And over the course of 7 or 8 years, I just noticed a decline in his general health, and it all seems to kind of match up with when he started pulling his teeth out.
Well, dentures are hard to wear. We've kind of talked about that, but if you were to match, we do these bite studies where we try to find out how much pressure people can apply to food. And if you take a normal, natural set of teeth and then you compare it to somebody with dentures, the person in dentures can bite only about 10%, maybe 20%, compared to natural teeth. So now imagine trying to eat, say, corn on the cob, or even a piece of steak, or any fresh vegetable. Most fruits, an apple is a really good example. They're unable to really bite it the way you and I would. So what they do is they start to just eliminate those things from their diet.
Right, yeah.
And they have altered taste because of basically a denture covers the roof of your mouth and eliminates some of the taste buds. And so people don't taste food the same way. So they start eating more processed, softer, sweeter foods, which of course leads to some of the problems we don't want in our own life or in our parents. And so they have a higher rate of malnutrition. Maybe they're having trouble controlling diabetes, and they're not eating the right foods. And sometimes they just give up because they feel like, well, what else can I do?
I had no idea. I mean, I could see all of this really playing out and manifesting. I mean, it all checks out, what I've been seeing over the last 7 or 8 years, but I had no idea this knock-on effect, like it is. Just one thing seems to be knocking on another thing, and it's like a spiral.
Well, and this can be true not just of, right in your case, you're talking about your dad. Yeah. My grandma had all of her teeth when I went away to dental school, and all of them perfect. My grandpa had prostate cancer, and he spent a lot of years in a slow decline in his health. And when I came home from school, Grandpa was kind of at the end. And the day before his funeral, my grandma had her front tooth fall out. And she said, I got to have you do something. And I hadn't seen her yet. I'd just come home from school. So I made her something overnight to get her to the funeral. And I said, better come see me. And try as I might, I couldn't save any of her teeth. She had neglected herself for so long, there was nothing else I could do. And so we went through the same discussion. And she said, well, I don't want to spend any money on me. I'm 80 plus years old. And I said, Grandma, I can help, But she had this idea that, she would just wear dentures.
Right.
We've kind of got her into this process where we had to start discussing options. And even with me as her grandson, as a dentist wanting to help her, she was really hesitant to do something that could really improve her life. Did you ever have conversations with your dad about other options? Did he learn about dental implants?
Yeah, dental implants were an option that was talked about at the beginning, but it was kind of dismissed for a less expensive option, the dentures, which of course he doesn't wear.
Right.
And
he probably thought they'd work.
Yeah, it could be. And he probably also, I imagine he overestimated his own commitment to wearing them, for all I know. Now when I think about the additional cost for implants versus his denture, and I think about the potential for him to have been chewing better and his diet to remain more intact, and how his general health could have been sustained for longer, at least the decline delayed, the additional cost for the implant seems kind of trivial now.
It's a real struggle because when I help patients get dental implant prosthetics, they all say, I wish I had done this a lot sooner. Yeah. Patients don't know what it's going to be like, and we have no way to help them know other than that it's going to be different, it's going to be hard for some people. What we get with dental implants is we get a return to function. If we can do more dental implants, we can even approach natural teeth and the bite forces. So now all the food is back on the menu. Right. Anything they want to eat, they can go ahead and eat. Is this something that you think your dad would be interested in talking about?
Now I have this hindsight, and now I'm equipped with a lot of information you're telling me now that it's kind of textbook, my dad's decline, and just knowing that it's not so uncommon, his behavior towards his denture, that makes me feel a little bit better as well. I mean, he's not uncommonly lazy, it's just that no one really takes to him very well. It's hard to.
Right.
But I would love to talk about other options because, if anything, I'd just like him to participate more, and go to Chuckarama and, belly up to the salad bar again or something.
Have you seen him kind of withdraw from family, social?
I think in a general sense, with his health declining generally and not speaking as confidently, there's this air of resignation about his current condition. It's hard to see that,
Well,
the guy needs a win.
Yeah. One thing that I can tell you happens that a lot of people don't want to talk about is there's an embarrassment that goes with it. If your teeth look great and they feel great, it's a big part of who you are. People don't realize this, but when you do studies and you observe when we meet somebody, we quickly look at their eyes and then we look at their mouth and then back to their eyes and then back to their mouth. And then we sort of view them overall after that. So anybody that has a smile they're struggling with will tend to they'll kind of hide their smile. They'll be guarded. They might withdraw from those social kind of interactions. So I think if you can appreciate that there's a difficulty that he's dealing with, not just how does he feel, but what if you come and say, hey, let's go to lunch? And you're thinking, wouldn't this be great? And he's thinking, there's nothing I'd rather not do than go to lunch and have to sort of like have this moment of what do I do? How do I eat? So I think that's what we don't appreciate about the loved one who's struggling with their teeth. The cool thing is there's a lot of options. They don't all have to be the most expensive. The best option is the one that works best for the patient. So getting a consultation, having him come in and let's do an evaluation is really the first step. But even at home on your own, you could have some conversations with him about whether he'd like to try to improve it.
I'm a Gen X child of aging parents, and I take care of his lawn and I help with maintenance around the house and I take him to appointments. I'm doing all these things, but it feels like no one's reaching out to me who's kind of in a position to advocate for him, And so this
you don't really know what to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I wish it didn't come to the brink that I feel I'm in right now before coming and talking to you. And thank you, by the way, for seeing me and giving me so much information and I think coaching on what to say to him. But yeah, I would really like to bring him in for a chat.
Excellent. Well, we'd love to see him. Our consultations are free, so of course that's easy. I think I would try to start to set the stage with him that there might be some ways to really improve his life. Many of the patients will think, well, I've looked into that. It's too expensive, and I'm too old. I don't know. Many patients feel the guilt of spending money, their own money they've earned and saved and that they have this feeling like, well, maybe they're not worth spending the money on, and they'll just live their life out and then let their kids have whatever they can leave behind. And the kids come in and they just are desperate to have their parents get something better. And so I think you'll have to have some conversations with him about that. But I'd love to meet him and look and see what we can do for him. What else can I answer for you? Do you have any other concerns or questions that have been on your mind?
I'm sure we'll think of something when he's here. I guess in the meantime, if there are any sort of life hacks or I guess things that I can say to my dad at home now that might motivate him or make wearing his dentures easier?
Well, maybe I can provide you with this little report or pamphlet that you could take home and just first absorb it yourself, and then you can just provide it to him. It'll have some information about some of the options, and he can start gaining information. I have one other story that I think is worth telling. I had a patient, he was 96. He was really successful. He had basically given his business over to his children, and he was twice widowed. He was quite active. And at 96, he had to lose his teeth. And he said, I'm not spending any money on myself at this point. I'm just having dentures. I explained implants, the benefits, all these things we talked about. And maybe your dad was in the exact same place. Said, it'll be fine. And he wore his dentures a really short period of time. And he came back in and said, I'm not living one more day like this. And he said, my kids can give me back some of that money I gave them. He said, well, I'm going to live to be 110 and I'm getting married again. And so I want this. And he went ahead and did dental implants. And he only lived, he lived 3.5 more years. But for him, there was no question that's how he wanted to live. So the real question I ask people to think about is not how long, but how well. How well does somebody want to live? I may not make it home from this office today, right? Your dad may live 10 more years. How long should we live in misery and some of these problems, or should we be considering how well can I live, however long that is? And then it just becomes a financial discussion. And so I think that's the conversation I'd start to have, is quality of life, not how long, but shouldn't we try to live each day the best way we can? Pretty much what they've taught us, right? And now they're not doing it themselves. And so we have to sort of answer these questions as a family, as we navigate the things that you all value. Maybe you want to take a trip as opposed to have teeth, but maybe he doesn't want to go on the trip. Maybe he would rather have his teeth. And what's right for each person pretty much is decided once people have information. And we just want to provide options for people that will hopefully help them.
Well, thanks, Dr. Affleck, and thank you for helping me leave with more empathy for what he's going through. I never really understood all of the reasons why someone might not want to wear their dentures. It's been frustrating from time to time, but now I really feel like I understand.
Think about it like being forced to wear a pair of shoes you hate. They can look nice, but if they're giving you blisters, if you can't really get through the day without your feet hurting, what's the point, right? You just say, I don't want to wear those shoes. If you could find a different pair, you would, but with our problem with our teeth is we don't really have good options. If we can't wear dentures, we can really only look to dental implants as a way to improve that. And so I'd love to have you take that information home and start learning about it and getting some options for him.
Thanks.
You're welcome. I really appreciate you coming in.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.